Hey guys, Mark with the Dog Trainer here. Today we're going to be doing a quick review of the best air purifier for pet dander. Okay, now I've got the Oreck Air Response Air Purifier set up here. This is the large. As always, I'm going to put the product links in the video description to any of the different models that we talk about. Now, in the first half of this video, we're going to go over what I personally use this for and what my experience has been like with it. And then in the second half of the video, we're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive on like the functions and features, so that way you know exactly what this thing is capable of. Okay, so as a professional dog trainer, there was a point in my career that I did a lot of board and trains where I would have at least 5 client dogs in my house at any given time. Okay, now on top of that, I have my personal dogs. So we're talking quite a few dogs to have in one house. Now, as a dog trainer, kind of an ongoing challenge through my career was trying to combat the smell of dogs. So that could be potty training accidents, dogs getting sick, maybe dogs, even just the smell of different danders and fur types. So I felt like my house always was consumed by the smell of dogs. Now, when I moved into this house, the previous owners were actually breeding golden retrievers, like informally, and they didn't really clean it that great before we moved in. So when I moved in here, there was lots of golden retriever hair and like all the nooks and crannies, and the house just really smelled like dogs. So I was talking to another dog trainer that I know about how frustrated I was about this, because I was just want to be at a point in my life that my house smells clean, not like a bunch of dogs. And she had recommended Oreck to me. And that's how I was introduced to it. Now I use it all the time. Okay, so nowadays I don't board dogs anymore, but I still have 4 of my own, 2 of which shed like crazy. Now, even outside of the shedding, even if just the 4 of them are running around playing, they kick up a lot of dust. So this has been amazing for all of that. Okay, now another point about having 4 dogs in this house is that this thing is pretty durable. If you've seen any of my other videos, you'll know that I have a fetch machine that my dogs love playing with, and a lot of times that ball gets kicked around in the living room, and this thing has been knocked over probably 10 times minimum. And you'll see like all the scratches and nicks that are on it from that. But this thing is a tank. Like, it's still running perfectly fine. Not that I'm recommending you let your dogs tackle it, but it's been working out fine for my dogs. Now, I know that the main point of this video is talking about how this air purifier works for pet dander and pet related stuff. But a kind of secondary problem that I have in my house is that if the AC is not running, there's really, really poor circulation in here, and the house just smells kind of stale. So anytime I turn my AC off, I almost always have this running, because there is a noticeable difference, just the smell and kind of just the freshness. And I started with this large model, and I liked it so much that I ended up getting the small for my bedroom. So that way at night, all 4 of my guys, they sleep in bed with us. That way we can feel nice and fresh and clean even when we're trying to sleep. So now there are 3 different sizes. There's a small that I want to say covers up to maybe a little over like 170 square feet. The medium, I think, is a little over 200 square feet. And the large that I've got here is maybe 270 square feet, something kind of like that. So if you're going to end up purchasing one of these, just make sure you're picking the right size, because that will make a big difference on how it functions and everything like that. Now, as far as like the actual filtration system goes, or the filters, there's kind of like 2 components. There's the odor eliminator, which I believe is this piece. And that was really the main appeal to me, was, getting rid of the smell of dogs. And I think this lasts maybe 6 to 8 months, I think is what they recommend, depending on your usage. And then we have the actual HEPA filter itself that I think lasts up to a year. And we're going to get into it in a little bit, but there are sensors that will notify you when it's time to change these out. Now, another kind of cool feature that this thing has, and I'm going to show you guys in a little bit, is there's a little dust sensor on the side that kind of takes a reading of how much dust is in the air, and it kind of helps it function at whatever level it needs to. So that's pretty cool as well. So now why don't we take a closer look at all the different features and everything like that, and then we'll probably wrap up the video from there. Okay guys, so this is the top of the filter. It's all kind of touch screen. So I'm going to turn it on and it's automatically set at auto. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe when it's set on auto, that's when it's using the dust sensor to adjust how much work it's doing. Okay, now there's 3 different speeds. The first speed is the quietest. The second one is a tiny bit louder. And then the third one is pretty loud. Okay, so depending on what I'm doing is how I'll decide. If I'm watching a movie or something, I'll usually set it at 1. If I'm leaving the house, I'll set it at 3. Okay, now we also have a timer that we can set how long we want it to run for. So we could either do 2 hours, 4 hours, or 8 hours before it automatically turns off. And then we also have our filter kind of like notification things that we use to reset anytime that we replace the filter. And then when the filter needs to be replaced, this entire bar of blue light turns like red or purple. Okay, and then we can also have this thing running with the lights turned off if you're using it at night, and that's something you're sensitive to. Okay, so now as long as you guys don't judge me, we're going to take the front off and I'm going to show you guys what it looks like to replace the filter, and then we'll probably wrap up from there. Okay, so this is one of those things that it's kind of gross, but it's weirdly satisfying because to see all the stuff that this filter catches, imagining it in the air, like breathing it in is really kind of a crazy thought. But we just pop the front off here. Okay, and then what we see here is actually the odor filter. So that's a clean one. And that's one that's used, which again, technically it doesn't say that I need to replace it yet, but I'm just kind of doing this to show you guys. Okay, so we would take the entire filter out, and that's what it looks like in there. Okay, and then at this point, if I was going to replace this, I would just peel this filter off. Okay, and you can see again, this is what a used one looks like. And that is what the original one looked like, okay? Now, again, I'm not replacing this quite yet, just because it hasn't notified me to yet, but we are probably coming up on needing to change it. And if you look closely here, you'll see that there's like Velcro on the corner of the filter, so that way the odor eliminator sticks on there nice and clean. Okay, so like I said, you know, it's a little gross, but it's pretty cool to see how much like dust and dander and hair this thing is really picking up. And I don't know if you can see it here, it's kind of gross, but there's actually some of my dog's hair like in here. So kind of gross, but good to know that it's doing its job. Okay, and then anytime you do this, you are supposed to wipe the dust sensor. Okay, let me show you that right there is the dust sensor. So if I were to replace this, I'd probably wipe it all down with like a rag, and then I would also wipe that down. Okay, so that is pretty much everything you guys need to know about the Oreck Air Response air filter or air purifier. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.